Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Man Cave. And I've got a good program for you, or I really would have had a really good program for you, but that Rosa luck thing again. Ordinary, you got to understand, how many videos do you think that I have put out? Or produced, and how many times have I had the program, I can't think of the right word, where it goes through and it processes the video. I can't think of the word right now. But anyway, it's processing the video that I was going to show you right now. I had 10 minutes to go. It's only a 7-minute video, and it was moving slower than 1% per minute. And ordinarily, it just flies through. It's only because I was running late that it's doing that. I'm not kidding you. It almost never does that. It's done it before, but it's so rare, But on this video, it had to do that because we're running out of time. But I do have some more stuff to cover too, but maybe that video will just, by the grace of God, get finished and I'll be able to show it to you. But I'm not holding my breath at this point. It's just not easy being me. I made this morning, and I did that with the 3D printer. I had already made this top part, and I decided to make a tray to hold it, and anyway, it's pretty cool. I really like it. It's a lot sturdier, very strong, doesn't flex. It's really strong compared to those plastic ones that I have already. Now, I'm probably going to optimize this some more. This is just prototype number 1. It's wider this way than it needs to be because I have a lot of space there for the labels and stuff. So more than likely, I'm going to take some space out of the edges here and some space out of this middle and shrink it down a little bit more. But this is handy now. I can pick up the whole tray, carry it over to where I'm working. Where the other plastic trays, you pick them up and they just bend and they just want to break on you, so they're junk. Plus, the wires little posts that stick up, the plastic posts, they're so close together that the sockets rub, and sometimes they rub so hard you can't push them down on the thing. Just poor design all the way around, but this works really well. So I'm really happy with that. Again, I made that with my Falcon 2 laser cutter, my Creality laser cutter. That is on the products I use page. Very cool. So I'm kind of excited about that. Like I said, I'm gonna optimize that because that's still too big. I can make it smaller and make it work better. So that was project number 2 or 3 this morning. Project 1 and 2, I'm waiting on that video. So we'll have to stall here and hopefully it'll get processed. But the title of the video, if you were looking at that, it says I won but then I lost again, and that's kind of the nature of the next video. So take a look at that. Well, my friends, it's probably a little bit too soon to claim victory, but I did put a bigger filter on there, and I went out and I cut some really heavy weeds, grass. Basically, it's the hayfield. I actually took one pass through the hayfield there around the edge, and it didn't bog down. It bogged down a little tiny bit, but it didn't bog down near enough to kill the engine or anything. And here's the little filter that was on it before. And you can see it's kind of dirty too already, and this was a fairly new filter, but keep in mind the tank had a lot of junk in it, so this may have gotten clogged up enough where it wasn't working well enough. So I've cleaned the tank out and cleaned all that, and now I got a new filter on it, which is much bigger, and even the hose here is much bigger, which it was really hard to get it in this rubber hose, in fact. So maybe that's going to be the problem. I'm still going to put new plugs in it too, because I think that'll just enhance it even a little bit more. Well, I won. I figured out the problem, but then I almost immediately lost because I got another problem. The long fan belt, or blade belt actually is what that is, broke. So got to get a new one of those. It's on order. It'll be here in a couple of days. Sorry about not having the mic up there. That's just a result of trying to get this all ready for you this morning. It would be a very good vlog if I could show you the darn video that I'm trying to process. I don't know if you could hear what I was saying, but this thing processes the videos pretty darn fast. It really does ordinarily. I mean, an hour-long video might take it 15 or so minutes to process, or maybe 20 minutes even. But this video that I'm wanting to show you is only like 7 minutes long, and I had 10 minutes to go, and it was processing it at a rate of about 1% per minute. It's ridiculous. Why would it do that? You know, I don't know. It's just that Rosa look. Oh, it says it's finished now. All right, I went back over to the program, and it says it's finished. So at least I should be able to show it to you. But here is another short video that I'm going to show you first. This is something you weren't planning on seeing this morning, I'm sure. I'm back here at the tower, and the boys said the last time they were here the wasps were really bad. So I brought some wasp fixer-upper, and we're going to see if we can get up here and get that done without getting killed. Got both hands full. Camera in one and spray in the other. There's a bird nest over there. I'm looking to see if there's any wasp nests under there. You would think there'd be plenty of them under there, but I don't see any. Oh, there's a big wasp nest up there in the window crack. I don't see any wasps on it though. Yeah, I do too. All right, well, this ain't gonna be pretty. I don't know if I can spray this and not get the camera completely coated in this stuff. Yep, I did it, I think. Pretty sure that knocked those out. Now I wonder if I can open this door without getting killed. Are there a bunch more inside? You never know. I don't see any in here. I don't see any. Oh well. Looks like those wasps there are starting to wiggle around a little bit now. They're gonna start dropping out like rocks here. Oh, yep, they're dropping. Oh, one of them just stung me on the finger. That guy stung me on the finger, I think. I had my hand down here and he crawled up on me and stung me on my finger. But these are not the red wasps, at least, so they're not as bad. I'm trying to close the window off so that they can't get inside. Oh well, it didn't sting me very hard. It didn't feel like it. Compared to the red wasp stings, that was like nothing. So I'm going to crawl back down here. You know, with a sting like that, you could pass out and die. Yeah, right. Anyway, I'm going to crawl back down to the Ranger. I parked the Ranger right next to this so I didn't have to walk through the weeds or anything. Anyway, that's the name of that tune for now. Yeah, see, you weren't planning on seeing that, but yeah, the boys said there were wasps up there and they were afraid to go up in the tower. It's about 16 feet up there. It's, you know, story and a half, I guess, something like that. So it's pretty high. And yeah, and I see somebody says I need to get a harness for my camera. Well, my camera is my cell phone, so you know it's just one of those deals. You'd be surprised at things I do like that.
I'm not saying I can't get hurt. Don't hear me say that. That's not what I'm saying. But I do so much of that kind of stuff all the time that I'm pretty used to it. I mean, I've been doing that stuff my whole life, and it doesn't mean you can't get hurt. I'm not saying I'm better than that or I can keep from getting hurt, but all I am saying is I'm just used to doing that kind of stuff because I do it all the time. And so I don't really have too many fears of it. And I'm very careful. I always hang on. I always try to make sure I got 2 or 3 points of contact, Of course, it's difficult when you got cans of spray in one hand and a cell phone in the other. Anyway, I took care of them. And I think it stung me very lightly somehow on my finger. It hurt for just a second and then it was gone. I mean, like it didn't even hurt after that. But those red wasps, if they sting you, oh my gosh, they nail you. Those wasps were a weird looking wasp. They were dark, but then they had a white face, which you would think that was a bald-faced hornet. But they didn't look like a bald-faced hornet. They looked like a regular black wasp, but had some kind of light coloring on their face. I say white. It probably wasn't white. It was like a tan or something. But anyway, it was weird. So it says that the video that I was rendering, that's the word I was looking for, rendering. It said that the rendering is finished, and so hopefully this video will play. Here it is. Well, I guess that's a big no. I'm going to let the screen go black for a second because I have to do that in order to get the video queued up. Let me try it and see if I can get it to play. I don't know. It probably failed or something. It says it completed, but we'll see. Well, my friends, it's 6:30 a.m. and you can see Sue's already running the Bobcat. I was going to go get the Bobcat myself, but unfortunately she's using it, so I've got to get this log up on there by hand. And I think I can do it. It's heavy, very heavy. I couldn't pick up the whole log, but I think I can pick up one end at a time and get it up there. Okay, I have not fired it up yet. Let's see if she'll start and run. Well, there's a good 3/4 inch slab that we've got there, and you can snap a line and then saw it straight later. That's what I do on my table saw. I don't think the saw blade is optimized at this point, so I may put a new blade on it, but I'm going to check and make sure everything's flat and square and all that.
show you the calibration tool I made for checking the blade. See, the blade, you would think of the blade as going flat, but it can be tilted this way or tilted that way. And when you put I put a 36-inch yardstick here with this deal, that this holds it flat to the blade. And so I can adjust the tilt with these adjustment screws that I built into the machine. And so I've checked it, and now it is, you know, like 8 and, I don't know, 15 16ths, and it's about the same on the back. It's real close. So, real close. But it was off by quite a bit, actually. It was off by, I don't know, you know, on a 36-inch length like that, it doesn't take much to be off. It was off by more than 1/8 of an inch. I would say almost 1/4 an inch. And, you know, keeping the blade good and flat is what helps saw better lumber. So at least that's my theory. I'm going to try it now and see if we can get some good lumber out of this. Well, all things considered, it turned out pretty darn well. You can see the boards I got out of this, and there's a bunch of them. I'll just see if I can lay them all right there. There's 1, 2, I can tell this is not quite a full 1.5 inches. I could plane this down and make 1 more, or it's a better than 1 inch. It's an inch and maybe 1/4. In fact, I can check it. Yeah, it's actually 1 5/16 inches. So it's almost a full 2 by 8.5. So yeah. Anyway, it really did do well for such a little tiny log. It was a tiny log. Well, my friends, I've got the boards carried into the shop, and I dusted off this first one with the vacuum, and you can see it's very wet. So let's just see what the moisture content is. Now, different people tell you different things on how to do this, but you know, I think as long as you're consistent, it don't matter. There's 26.3. This way, if I go with the grain, it's 26.3. It doesn't really matter. People think everything matters on this stuff, and you know, it probably does to some degree, don't get me wrong. But if you always go with the grain and always check it with the grain, then you're consistent. If you always check it across the grain, then you're consistent. And you can, what's important in my mind is the relative change from the day you started to the day you finish. So, you know, we're basically at 26, 27, somewhere in there. Thread at 26, it keeps dropping, 26.6. So we're in the neighborhood of 26. I want to see it get down to 13, 12, somewhere in there. Most of the other boards are already there. So, you know, that drops it in roughly half. And that's not too bad. So that's board number 1. I'm not going to show the rest of them. I just thought I'd show you, you know, where we're at right now, because they do come out pretty darn wet.
Well, we've got some more siding boards now, because that all happened this morning. And, you know, eventually you'll see a lot of these clips again whenever I put out the full video version, you know. I don't know. They'll be interspersed, and so you'll see some of these down the road again in the actual video of building the water wheel and the water wheel house. Because the mic wasn't here when I was telling you about this, I'll just tell you again, after I did all that cedar this morning, I decided to spend some time with my Falcon 2 laser cutter, which is on the Products I Use page of my website, and it's a Creality Falcon 2. And I built this socket holder, and like I was saying, is that the only thing about it that I'm not crazy about right now is that it's a little wide. I could narrow it down. The length of it's about right, but the width I could narrow down, probably get a full inch out of the width, maybe more than that. And I'll darken the numbers also on the next prototype. This was prototype number 1, and for a prototype, it's really pretty good. It's not bad at all. But this is what I'm always telling you about, poor design. It's a little bit of a poor design right now because it's wider than it needs to be. So I'll narrow that down some, and it'll be much better. Anyway, and I've got a lot of sockets, and those plastic socket holders that I have presently, they're better than nothing. They keep it organized. But you pick that up and it bends and it wants to break on you and, all that kind of stuff. Plus, they're real close together, and a lot of the sockets won't fit down over the little post that's sticking up, the plastic post. It wants to bend the plastic posts out like that because the sockets are too big. So, very poor design on those plastic ones. But this thing here is going to eventually take all that misery away. I think that's just about everything I was going to cover today. Tomorrow morning, real early, probably 6 o'clock, I'm going to get out there and cut down a couple of more cedars and saw up some more siding boards. I think 2 more good-size cedar logs will probably take care of all the siding that I'm going to have. I think, you never have enough. It doesn't matter how you do it. But I think it'll cover the next 2 walls that I need to build. And, we'll go on from there. Let's go to the comments. There's quite a few comments there. And I know a lot of them were about the fact that I didn't have my mic here, so we'll skip those once we get to that. Looks like Kevin Allen, I don't remember seeing that name, was the first one on here today. Longtime viewer, first time in the chat. Well, that's cool, Kevin. Thank you for being here. And then Kathy Voles is there. So looks like she's going to come back or have to watch it later or something. Anyway, David Tharp's there. Let's see, moving down, looking for question marks. David says, do you know, in spite of the high cost of living, in spite of the high cost of living, it's still pretty popular. Oh, living is pretty popular. See, they're not funny if you can't read them. Sorry, David. I just can't read. That's my problem. It's 3/4 of it. James Copy, I need to talk to you about how narrow the mandolin neck is. I have tenor uke. Well, yeah, I don't know. I had patterns for mine, and I don't even know how wide they are, so without measuring them myself. Now, I know lots of people are really into that stuff, and they know all those numbers at the top of their head. Well, I never had to know them because I had a pattern, and I just traced it around the pattern and made it to that size, and it worked out perfectly. So, I'm wanting to say it's like an inch and a 1/16, I think, is the width of the neck at the fret at the nut on the mandolin. I think that's what it is, but hell, you can Google it. It's out there. There's plenty of people that know that. Let's see. David Tharp. Whenever I think I'm going to eat healthy, a candy bar looks at me and snickers. Daddy, Yeah, well, that's all I eat is sugar, salt, and preservatives, so I know all about Snickers. Dottie is praying for the Rosa group. Thank you very much, and I really do appreciate it. Dottie says, "Hey Jerry, I have 145. Is that GCD? I think I have this number system. It's taken me long enough." Well, yeah. See, the thing is, Dottie, the letters are going to change every time you change your key. So in other words, if you're in G, you're exactly correct. So if you're playing a song in the key of G, then 145 is G, C, D in that order. So G is 1, C is 4, and D is 5. But if you change it now and you're going to play it in A, well, now A is 1. So A is 1, and your 4 on your mandolin is in the same relative place. It's, in other words, when you're in G, your C is in the same fret but directly above it. And so when you go to A, you're in the same fret. You got your A there, that's your 1, and you go directly above it, there's your 4, which is D in that case. And then your E would be your 5. So all the numbers do is, when you start thinking in numbers, is that, especially on the mandolin, everything's in the same relative place, so you'll always know where your 1, 4, 5 is. It's 1, 4, 5. It's just, and I'm exaggerating it. You're at 1, you go up to 4, and then you go down 2 to 5. That's it. Every single time. It's that way every time when you start on your bottom 2 strings. If you start on your middle 2 strings, it's a different pattern. But on the bottom 2 strings, that's the pattern every time. 1, 4, 5. 1, 4, 5. Doesn't matter where you start, anywhere up and down the neck. If you start on those bottom 2 strings, there's 1, 4, and 5. It's just that simple. So those are the 3 chords that are in basically every song. It's that simple. Don't make it any more complicated than that. That's how simple it is. It's that simple. David Thorpe, hey Jerry, do you ever feel like you're diagonally parked in a parallel universe? No, well, not more than about every 30 seconds. I kind of feel that way. Pretty much all the time. Yeah, I really do. I'm a square peg in a round hole for sure. Wavy Gravy, my next door neighbor asked his wife, "Do you know why my life is so miserable?" She had the perfect reply. She said, "You got me, babe." I ain't going there. I'm not going to talk about that. Let's see. Jeff Burris is talking to Dottie there about the 145. Yeah, and he's basically saying the same thing that I was saying there. If as long as you're in G, you got the 145 correct. It's G, C, D. 100% of the time, that's the way it'll be when you're in G. But if you're in A, it changes. The letters are going to change every time. That's my point of explaining it the way I explain it, is that you don't even have to know the names of the letters. If it just depends on where you start, then you got your chord there, that's your 1. Then you move up. You just move up in the same fret. You just move up to the next set of strings. There's your 4, and you move down 2 frets, and there's your 5. It's that way every time. You can't get no simpler than that. That's as simple as it can be done. And that's how I think of it. I truly do think of it like that. Let's see. Ronald Todd, sounds like you're in the next room. Okay, here's all those comments about the microphone. Yep. So Nancy says he is in the man cave. The echo, I'm sure, is what she means there. because definitely, I'm sure it didn't sound good. I'm sorry about that, but I was so flustered about that video not processing. Like I said, it usually takes about, I don't know, just a couple of minutes to render a video. And I had 10 minutes to go, and I'm thinking, all right, I got plenty of time. I click the render, and it just goes, and it just, like it was rendering about 1% per minute. That's how fast it was rendering. And so the time, when the time, after the 10 minutes were up, it did render up to 50% in the 10 minutes. But it was only a 7-minute video. It's just so dumb. It's just so dumb. It's only because it's me. I'm telling you, that's the only reason. Moving on down. Wayne Blitz, good afternoon, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Yeah, well, thank you, and I hope everyone does. Captain Bubba, use your laser cutter to make a mandolin kit and sell it. Well, sorta. You could sorta almost do that, but not really, because well, I don't know. Your backs and your tops are carved, and there's just a lot more to it than that. But it would be kind of cool if you could. Well, you could. Technically, you could. I mean, 100% you could on the body if you made all flat mandolins. If you made them like the mid-Missouri mandolins used to be made. I don't think they're in business anymore, but they made flat mandolins. They made flat tops, flat backs. And if you were doing that, you could easily do it with a laser cutter. No problem at all. In fact, you could do it in a heartbeat. Ronald Todd. Audio much better now. Yeah, well, I guess that's because I have a microphone. Let's see. Ben Boyd, my grandson Noah is watching your channel with me today. Today is his 8th birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Noah. Happy birthday to you. And many more. 8 years old. There you go. Let's see. When you're 10 years old, you for sure should be starting to play an instrument for sure when you're 10. If you're not already doing it. But by the time you're 10, you need to be going full force on learning to play an instrument. Mikhail Force gave me a super chat in SEK, S-E-K. I don't know what that is exactly, but I imagine it's from Sweden. But thank you very much, Mikhail. I really do appreciate it. We showed Mikhail's picture of the little mandolin and violin orchestra yesterday from Sweden back in 1951. See, I still can remember some things. Not everything, but some things. Bill Mumbo, Jerry, you need to get a harness for your camera. It's safer. Yeah, well, I just put it in my pocket. Ronald Todd, very nice deer stand. Yeah, that is a cool deer stand. It really is. And again, it's that Rosa luck thing again. And most of you have heard me say this already, but I built that tower with a specific purpose. Now, keep in mind, this might sound cruel to some of you, and some of you will hate it, and I'm sorry, but it's just the way it is. And that is, I built it to shoot those wild hogs. And from up there, you can see 500 yards or further in a lot of different directions out in the fields. Well, normally on a deer, you're not going to shoot 500 yards. That's just not the quote-unquote ethical thing to do when you're deer hunting. It's not, I mean, there's people that could pull that off, don't get me wrong, but I mean, that's not the norm. So, but on a hog, I don't care. I mean, because they're an invasive species and we're trying to kill them anyway. So I don't care. I'll shoot 500 yards at a hog. I don't really give a rip if I wound them or if I don't, And I know some of you are going to hate that, but that's too bad. It's just the way it is. And so, but the point is that I went to all that trouble to build that stand and put it in that spot to shoot those hogs. And I promise you, I'm not making this up. It was 2 days before, or maybe 3 days before. It was just a couple of days before I got it finished. A helicopter starts flying up and down the valley, And I mean, he's at treetop level, and he's buzzing back and forth, and mostly on the other side of the valley from that stand. He's mostly on the parks side of the valley, the National Forest side. And anyway, he's buzzing back and forth, and he's down, and he does cross the valley a little bit, and he goes back over there, and he's mostly staying on that side. And you can tell he's doing something intentionally. You don't know really exactly what he's doing, but you can tell it ain't just your normal helicopter flight for sure. And then after he's finished, now it doesn't happen while he's flying, but the moment he finishes, the gunfire started, and it was, you can't exaggerate it. It was boom, 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 pow, 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 pow. And that went on that fast for a solid hour. And I'm not kidding. And we didn't see any more hogs after that. Actually, we did kill, I think, 2 hogs since that time. But prior to that, there were a lot of hogs. They were everywhere. And so that was 2 days before I finished the thing. And I'm sure what he was doing, I feel like they had some kind of a V pin type deal, and they were herding all the hogs to the chute. And then they probably closed it off where the hogs couldn't escape. And then they probably had 15 or 20 guys around there with rifles shooting them. And we didn't see any more hogs after that. So there you go. But that's just that typical luck I have. I mean, who would have even ever predicted something like that might happen, But it did. It happened because I was looking forward to using that tower to shoot hogs. There you go. It's just the way it works. Believe what you want. It works that way with me every single time. Moving on down. Let's see. Gary Hayes. Jerry, are you going to make a rustic sign for the mill? Yeah. I am planning to make a rustic sign for the mill with the laser cutter. I'm actually, in fact, that was another thing I did today. I didn't really talk about it or show it, but I was doing laser cutter testing to decide, because that's a new laser cutter to me, and I don't know all the ins and outs of it yet on how dark to etch things and how deep to etch things. So I was monkeying with that today too, with doing some testing. And so anyway, Ronald Hunt says that's a nice deer stand, and yeah, I read that one already, but yeah, thank you, Ronald. Like I said, that it just worked out the way it worked out, and now I've lost my place again. Yeah, it scrolled around on me. Okay, I think I found it. I think I did. There it is. Okay. I'm slow at this. I can't help it. Simon Jardine, I got stung by a hornet once, Jerry. Once was enough. Trust me on this. Once was enough. Yeah. Well, I'm telling you right now, once is enough with those red wasps, too. Those red ones will knock you completely down. I mean, they hurt so bad. And poor little Leighton, he's 8 years old. He got stung twice. He got on 2 of them, at the same time, he got stung on his arm in 2 different places. Oh, I'm telling you, it almost makes you want to cut your arm off. It's bad. Those things hurt so bad. I can't even tell you how bad it is unless you get stung by them. You will never know. I've been stung by yellow jackets and bumblebees and honeybees and stuff, and they all hurt, but those red ones really hurt. Gary Hayden, Jerry, could you get big enough pieces of cedar to make a mandolin top? It's been done. I had a cedar mandolin in the shop. I'm talking about this eastern red cedar, not the western red cedar. Western red cedar is excellent for making mandolin tops or guitar tops or anything. The western cedar is as good as you can do, in fact, in my opinion. It's just as good as spruce or better. but this eastern cedar, it's so knotty, it's very difficult to find clear pieces. But if you can find a clear piece, it would make an instrument. It would be okay, and it would make a decent sounding instrument. So yeah, you could do that. But on this farm here, the cedar we have is not very big, number one, and number two, it's pretty knotty. So you need to find one that was growing in the middle of the forest, and a big one that grew tall, where the lower limbs, where the bottom trunk is pretty clear. And we don't have a lot of that. There's a little bit of that here, but not very much. Dottie, any of you Rosa group who prays, please say a prayer for my grandson. Within the next couple of weeks, he has to have a heart ablation and a heart cath. He's 16. Wow. That's really sad, Dottie. I sure hope everything goes really well. I will definitely pray. Thank you for letting me know about that. But man, that's tough. 16 years old. But that's on the good side of it. The positive side of that, Dottie, is if they know anything at all in medical, they know about the heart. They're good with the heart. They know how to do that stuff. And the second thing that's good is that he's young, and he'll do fine. He's going to be fine. Gary Hayden, prayers sent to Dottie. Yep, for sure. Captain Bubba, is the cedar you cut the same the cedar they use for chest and closet lining? Yeah, basically it is. Yeah, it's the aromatic cedar. It's the eastern. We always just called it red cedar, and we never put the eastern on there, but I believe that's the right term is eastern cedar, or you could even possibly call it a juniper, I think. Anyway, it's in Missouri, according to the Missouri Conservation, it's just a scrub tree, but according to me, it makes great lumber. I actually really like the lumber. It's really good stuff, in my opinion. Ronald Todd, when wood turning, I try to get the moisture down to between 10 and 14 to eliminate cracking. Yeah, and 10 to 14 is about right. On instruments, I like to get it down to 6, 6 to 8. And that's why I say your instrument's not going to dry out much beyond that. People have all these. It all started back in the 60s when they started selling those stupid humidifiers and all that crap. It is just all a bunch of hype crap. I'm telling you, you can believe what you want, but it's all a bunch of hype crap. It's something for the music stores to sell to make money. It was just another product. And your instruments are already dried down to about 6% moisture content, and your house isn't really going to dry them out much more. In fact, they don't dry out much more. What they do is they suck moisture in. During the summer, they'll suck moisture in, and so they'll expand, and they'll crack because they expand. The finish doesn't expand. The finish is hard on those instruments. That's why they crack. People think it's because they shrunk, they dried out and cracked, but that's not the reason. It's because they expanded and cracked. Believe what you want. I got no reason to lie about that. But nobody believes that. I mean, everybody believes the hype that the music stores are spouting. Your instrument's going to dry out. You need to put this humidifier in it. Nope, that's not the reason. The reason they crack is because they get too much moisture sucked in because they dry them down to 6%. You can't get wood much drier than that. Believe what you want. It's your free country. You don't have to believe me. I don't care if you do believe me, actually. But I try to tell you so that you understand this stuff so that you can see it from a different light. You can really see the whole picture instead of the hype. I'm done. Off the soapbox. Let's see. Sidecar Bob. I'm late, but I'm here. Something has kept me from watching live for about a week. I got all kinds of lines I could come back with on that one, but I'm not going to. I'm going to be nice. Ronald Todd, homemade sawmill, still impressive. Yeah, I really like my homemade sawmill. I really do. Again, it's basically a prototype, because you built the one off, If I was going to go into production, there's maybe two things I'd change. I'd probably find a way to gear that screw faster, because it's not bad going down. It's fairly fast going down. But when you got to go all the way back up to the top of your log, that takes a couple minutes. So I'd probably find a way to speed that up. And the other thing I would probably do is just in your head, because I didn't have any plans, but in my head, I told myself that if I put that blade out on the front edge of the carriage, it would be better. I would be able to cut longer. I'd be able to go all the way to the end of the carriage with the blade, and I was thinking and it was a dumb thought. I thought I could cut longer lumber that way. Well, after I got into it, I realized that was stupid, because it doesn't matter. Your blade's only going to travel the same amount of travel no matter what you do. And, I should have put the blade more in the center of the carriage, and then it wouldn't wiggle waggle quite as much. But anyway, it is what it is. And that wiggle waggle, while it does that a little bit, and everybody tells me to brace it here and brace it there. And trust me, I've tried every kind of possible brace you can think of. It just isn't going to fix itself that way. Anyway, it doesn't hurt anything, because it doesn't change it this way. It just does it this way. And so as long as the saw, that's just like a handsaw. You know how a handsaw, you can rock a handsaw. That's all it's doing. It's rocking the blade. It doesn't hurt anything. But I really do like the saw. So those are the only two things I'd probably change on it, honestly. Of course, I'd probably put safety guards on it, because everybody wants that. But honestly, I do not feel a tiny bit unsafe using it, because I'm 4 feet behind it. Captain Bubba, will you show how you build the jig that tilts to cut on the cedar shingles? Yeah, I'm planning to show that. Yeah, I will definitely do that. It's going to be very simple. It's going to be so simple that it's going to be crazy simple. But simple's good, If it works, simple's the best way to go. Wade Hampton, Jerry, I've been a loyal fan for about 5 years. Lately, several months, I've been unsubscribed daily from your channel. It happens to all channels I view frequently. Oh, I'll be darned. Well, Wade, I appreciate you telling me, and I appreciate you sticking in here. The only thing I add to that, and it's just a caveat, I'm not saying this is what's happening to you, but I say it because lots of people will click subscribe thinking that they're, just as like a safety thing, they'll think, if I go ahead and click subscribe, I'll surely be still subscribed. But if you are already subscribed and you click subscribe, it will unsubscribe you. So you don't want to click subscribe unless you know you're unsubscribed. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, I'm not saying that's what's happening to you. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm throwing that out as a caveat to the other people, because I don't want somebody to go out there and click on it to like for insurance purposes, if you will, to ensure you're subscribed. The thing you have to do is you look on there, and if it says the word subscribed with an ED at the end, then you're subscribed, and don't mess with it. But if the D is not on there, then you need to click the subscribe button. So I'm just saying that as a caveat. It has nothing to do with what you're experiencing. The spoken song, are you ever going to go back to your morning time broadcast? Probably so, yes. But, not right away, because I got so much work to do here, and it's crazy hot. I mean, I quit working outside this morning at 9 o'clock. It was already so hot I couldn't stand it. So, I can't get nothing done during the rest of the day. That's why, to get something done, that's why I did this. I went down in the shop where it's air conditioned and worked on that. Gil Lamb, hi Jerry. He doesn't have any question marks there except at the end. It says, any idea when your next live show with the band? Yeah, we do them on the last Thursday of every month. So the last Thursday. So just mark your calendars for the last Thursday of every month. Believe it or not, there's a way that you can mark the whole year, or actually for infinity, you can mark that last Thursday of the month with your Google Calendar. If you get into it, you can figure it out. There is a way to do it, and like you can mark like the first Tuesday if you want of every month, or the last Thursday in this case. And so you only have to do it one time, and then it'll have that reminder there every single month. And then you can also set, like an hour reminder ahead of time, or 2 hours ahead of time, or whatever you want, even a whole day ahead of time if you want, or a week ahead of time, or anything like that. So there's a lot you can do with your calendar if you're not familiar with your Google Calendar. Bill Mumbo, my tenor ukulele neck is similar in size, Kala-like and archtop jazz guitar style. Okay. I don't know too much about like a tenor uke or any of those kinds of instruments, honestly. For the most part, you've seen the instruments I know about for the most part. Although there were a few strange instruments too that were in some of my videos, like the sitar, which I knew nothing about, except that I just had to find some creative way to clamp the gourd back together that had busted on that thing. Let's see, side cover on moving day. I just put the RC Moore on the charge while I have lunch and watch. Yeah, cool. That's pretty cool. There was a company that was dealing with me about that RC Moore, but I think I wrote to them, said I'd be interested, but I haven't heard back, so I don't know. That probably isn't going to happen, I guess. Ronald Todd, Jerry, did you put the box together with hide glue? Well, I gave it some serious thought, and I thought about that, but I ruled it out. I used, actually with these deals, CA glue is all I've been using, and I just run it like on the inside the box there, right at the joint. I just run a bead of CA glue down and hit it, spritz it with the instant cure, and it works really good. Seems to work just fine. It runs down in the cracks of these little finger joints, or whatever you call those joints, tabs. Let's see. Steve Mays, maybe you could sell some wall hanger mandolins cut from your laser cutter. Well, it'd be a possibility, I guess. Moving prayers for Dottie's grandson there, I see, from Ronald Todd. Yep. Wavy Gravy, do the hogs ever shoot back? No, but they will tear you a new one if you let them get a hold of you. They are one bad machine right there. I'm telling you right now, I've said this before, and this is 100% true. I'm not making this up. This is not saying this for theatrics. A mountain lion will kill you, and then it will eat you. A bear will kill you, and then it will eat you. A hog will eat you while you're alive. I promise you, it will. They don't kill you first. They don't even bother trying to kill you first. They're tough, vicious animals. Let me tell you. They're something else. Mikhail Force, I have a Gibson 335 from 1975. No cracks in the finish. Keeping it in my music room where I like to be. Yeah, you hit on a key point. You always try to keep your instrument in an environment that you like to be in. Don't put them in a hot attic. Don't put them in a damp basement. Don't put them in places like that. Keep them in, your general living area, and you'll be fine. They will still expand during the summer and then contract back in the winter. but they don't contract back below 6% moisture. I don't care what anybody says. They just don't do it. Believe what you want. It's your prerogative to believe any way you want to. Let's see, moving on down. Rud Johnson says 1, 4 to 5 chords is always a step from root tone of 2, 5 whole tone. Yeah, well, see, there you get into the complicated stuff, and I don't think of it like that. It's just total simplicity for me. But if you do understand all the complicated stuff, that's perfect. It's just, there's nothing wrong with that. But I have never had any training in music whatsoever, and some of you go, well, now we know what the problem is. But I've never had any training at all. I don't know an eighth note from a treble clef, really. I mean, I know I've heard the terms, but that's about it. Captain Bubba, on your new 2-mic setup, can it be used on 2 different instruments like Bill's guitar and floating vocal mic? Yeah, that's the purpose of it. It's, it's got 2 outputs. You've got a mixer. This is 1 mic. Well, I don't know if the antennas are that way, but this side here is 1 mic. This side here is another mic. And I just take both mics, put them together, and bring out a mix out of, you can mix them this way. You can make one hotter than the other one. And then I just take this one and go into my one input that I have on that little amp, that little Spark 40 amp. It only has the 1 1/4-inch plug input. But this, with these 2 mics, being able to mix them together here, it works great. I really like it. It sounds really good coming across that Spark 40 amp. So I'm real tickled to have that. But anyway, yeah, you can do it any way you want to. You can take out separate ones though and go into your amp separately and then mix it at your amp too if you wanted to. You can mix it here, but then you can mix it at your amp also, or your mixing board, or whatever you want to take it into. You can take that into just about anything. But in my case, it works perfectly because I can mix it on this thing and run it directly into my little tiny amp. Let's see, Paul Akers, which would you recommend? Replace a guitar top without removing the binding, or go ahead and remove the binding? It's not important to match the binding. Doesn't match back anyway. Botched job. Generally, if I'm going to take the top off an instrument, generally, I'm going to take the binding off. Now, there have been a few cases where I have just literally sawed it off right at the binding seam. And I can't explain why I did that, but there's been reasons why I did that. Sometimes you'll get into a certain kind of a finish, like an epoxy type finish that you can't cut through with a knife, and you can't, and so I just sawed it off, and then it just leaves that one little tiny razor saw line there, and you can kind of fill that back in and make it look halfway decent. So I have sawn them off, but I would recommend you take the binding off and then actually open up the seam. If you can do that, that's what I'd recommend. Eddie Turner, if they check the internet for the key chord transposition table, it shows the chords for the number system. Okay. Yeah, well, a lot of people think about it way different than I do. I think about it very simply. It's incredibly simple. In fact, if you learn those 11 rules that I wrote down, you can play virtually anything. I mean, it's only 11 rules. There's only 2 patterns. I don't know how much simpler you can make music. And you can play virtually anything just by doing that. Or you can do it the real formal way and the real complicated way. And I got no problem with that. I'm not knocking that. It probably sounds like I'm knocking it. I'm not. I wish I did know all that. That would be kind of cool to know. But for somebody, like late in life, like a lot of my viewers are, if you want to learn it simple, there's a simple way to learn it. And you don't have to get into all that complicated stuff and understanding all that extra technical stuff. You don't have to understand any of that stuff. So there you go. That's just me. Anyway, that's going to be it for today, guys. Thanks for being here. It looks like we got 120 viewers. That's a pretty good number for today. And sorry about not having the mic up at the beginning, but I was all flustered because that darn video wouldn't render. And I just panicked, I guess, and forgot about it. Dottie says, Jerry, I got it. Just started with G. Yep, good. Well, good. There will be today is Wednesday, right? Let me make sure, or is today Tuesday? Yeah, today's Wednesday. So tomorrow evening we will have a lesson at 7 o'clock. If anybody has anything specific they want to cover, well, be sure to bring it to the vlog tomorrow and tell me about it, and I'll cover it. So thanks a lot. We will see you tomorrow with something else.